Before I went to the first Northern Open at Douglas Lake in 2014, I had so much work to do to get the boat ready, I neglected the trailer. I just didn't have time for it. And that included the one thing I should have done, which is to repack the bearings. So the tournament's over, now I have time to work on the trailer, and that's the first thing I'm going to attend to. And you can really see how lucky I was. You see this bearing protector is covered with electrician's tape. So I actually drove down to Tennessee and back with it in this shape, and I'm very lucky I didn't have an incident. So first thing we're going to do is strip this off of there. To repack your wheel bearings, you'll need wheel bearing grease. I'm using Lucas Oil Marine grease, pliers, maybe a crescent wrench, a hammer, and a grease gun. Add to this a block of wood. And also you want to wear the grungiest clothes you have because you're going to get dirty, and some nasty old throwaway rags. So first thing I'm going to do is knock this old bearing protector out of here. I'm going to avoid damaging the bearing protector by using a block of wood. So I'm just going to knock on one side, turn it, and keep blasting it until it comes out of there. Once the bearing protector has been removed from the hub, you have access to the wheel bearing assembly underneath it. Use a rag to wipe away the old grease from the end of the hub so you can see what you're doing. Use pliers to straighten the bent, split ends of the cotter pin that prevents the spindle nut from backing out. Then pull the cotter pin out with the pliers. My trailer has a keeper to prevent the nut from backing out. Your trailer may have a king nut that doesn't require a keeper. Remove the nut. This can often be done with your fingers because the hub can't spin if the nut is locked down tight. To pop out the large washer that was under the nut and the outer wheel bearing that's beneath the washer, pop the hub partway out and push it back. Here's the outer wheel bearing covered with old grease. The inside of the hub is also filled with grease. Pull the hub off the axle and turn it over. The inside wheel bearing lies under a seal. I punched this seal out by tapping on a flathead screwdriver that I inserted through the hub from the opposite side. Take care not to tap on the race that the bearing rides on or to damage the seal. A damaged seal must be replaced. Here's the inner bearing, greasy but in good shape. Use however many rags it takes to clean the old grease from the races in the hub, the inside of the hub, the spindle, and the bearings. Keep the bearings separate so each one can be replaced in the side of the hub it came from. To repack a wheel bearing, scoop a gob of wheel bearing grease and plop it into the palm of one hand. Then grab a bearing in the other hand and repeatedly push the wide edge of the bearing through the edge of the grease and forcefully slide it across your palm. This will push a new grease into the bearing and flush the old grease out. Wipe away the old grease, rotate the bearing, and repeat this process until you come full circle. After both bearings have been packed with fresh grease, apply grease to both races. Place the inside wheel bearing in place and reinstall the seal. Use a wood block between the seal and the hammer to avoid damaging the seal. Apply grease to the spindle and then slide the hub back onto the axle. Place the outside bearing over the spindle so it rests against the race. Then put on the big washer and the nut. Tighten the nut while turning the hub until the hub can't move. Then back off one notch. Don't over tighten. The hub should make 1 or 2 rotations when you spin it. Replace the nut retainer if you have one, then insert the cotter pin and bend it over to lock it in place. Reinstall the bearing protector using a hammer and a wood block. Then fill the hub with grease. This will take quite a bit of grease because you must fill the empty space inside the hub. Don't overfill. You're done when the spring-loaded cap on the bearing protector pushes in when you press on one side of it. After filling the hub with grease, wash the outside of the bearing protector with a degreaser. This will ensure that the cap stays put. Place the cap on the bearing protector and you're ready for another year of safe trailering.